right in there between the gigantic eyeballs. And then there's a tongue with a radula, a rasp like a file that rams the food down the throat, and it goes down the throat with one-way files on the side through the center of the brain and into the stomach. I know from experience that these animals use their beaks and they will bite in a defensive way.
Your personal experience?
Very personal experience. I've been bitten by several species of squid, including a squid called the Humboldt squid. It bit right through my wetsuit, my dive skins, and my bathing suit. It was quite a gash. We were diving in an area that the year before, two fishermen, squid fishermen, had fallen overboard from a small boat. One of the fishermen was pulled into the boat. As they reached down to get the second fisherman, he was pulled down, he went out of sight, devoured by a school of squid. There was probably nothing left to him but the bones by the time he hit the bottom. You talk to fishermen, they would much rather fall into a school of feeding shacks than into a school of feeding Humboldt squid. They figure they've got a chance with the shacks. There is no chance with the squid. I was on the doctoral committee of a PhD student, and he and his wife had a gigantic meal in their home, and they served squid 12 different ways, and every one was delicious. Of course, sooner or later, the topic of giant squid always comes up. I wonder what giant squid tastes like. And the student, he said, well, I don't know, but I've got some in the freezer. We took the specimen out and thawed it out and prepared it in a very, very simple way. And when it was finished...
Wait a minute. What is the most simple way of preparing giant squid?
Well, first you cut it up into very small pieces.
Where was the squid found? I mean, it's...
It had washed ashore on a beach.
So this is a rotten frozen squid?
No, not necessarily rotten. It wasn't perhaps the most fresh that you could imagine, but it was all we had. And I just shaved off, sliced off thin slices of it, just sautéed it in olive oil and garlic. There it was finished, ready to be sampled, and I handed it to the student, Lou. I thought he should have the honor of since it was his. No, I'm not going to eat that. It was your idea, you eat it. I did, I tasted it. And it was awful. It was absolutely awful. It was very, very bitter. Ha! There's something in that we need to look at. The tissue contained ammonia. And it turns out that many deep-sea animals concentrate ammonium because it's lighter than seawater and it serves as a buoyancy mechanism. It means that the giant squids are virtually neutrally buoyant. When the animal dies, there's a journey in death from the depths to the surface of the sea. Were it not for that wonderful biological fact, we never would have had specimens of giant squid to study. Sampling giant squid, wondering what giant squid tasted like, ended up answering the question of why do we find giant squid in the first place? I've tried to imagine myself as a giant squid in trying to determine where they live and how they live and even what they see. Wonderful light-gathering capabilities with two huge eyes, the flashes and the streaks and the glowing of bioluminescent organisms. If I can be excused for being anthropomorphic, I'm sure the giant squid finds it a great place to be.
find the living giant squid. How have you gone about doing this?
The first expedition used a camera called the Critter Cam. Our idea was to mount this Critter Cam onto the head of a sperm whale. We would approach the sperm whales in a sea kayak till you got literally within arm's length, and placing the camera on the head of the sperm whale, let the whale dive down into the deep sea. Hopefully, the images would include giant squid. We got some really stunning footage, no question about that, but unfortunately no footage of the giant squid. Sperm whales are the largest predator on Earth. When they get the opportunity, they will take a giant squid. Tremendous writhing around with the squid being squeezed in the jaw of the sperm whale. When sperm whales were captured, all around the head were these funny rings. There were circular scars from the suckers of giant squid. They sucked so powerfully on the tissue. They leave their mark. They leave their mark. The beaks of squids are made of material very similar to your fingernail, and this is indigestible. Sometimes when biologists open the stomachs of whales, they will find not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands and thousands of squid beaks.
So they're all over the place, in other words.
There must be millions and millions of giant squid. I really believe that. The sperm whales know where they live. The sperm whales know where to find them. If we can determine where the sperm whales go exactly, we're going to be able to find the giant squid. I know we are. I know we are.
This deepened your resolve to find the living giant squid?
The latest expedition took place in early 1999. We used a one-person submersible, which was essentially an acrylic sphere, and got some really magnificent video footage of the deep-sea habitat. Again, no images of living giant squid. It's extremely difficult for most people, even marine biologists, to realize the immensity, the absolute immensity of the oceans. Every school child can tell you that the surface of the Earth is covered by about 70% water. Well, that's just the surface. When you realize that the oceans go down to 11,000 feet deep, all the living space where every kind of organism can exist, over 99.9% is in the oceans. So when you go for a walk in the park, everything that you can see represents less than 1% of all life on Earth. The rest of life is in the sea.
I think I read in this one article that this obsession was interfering with your health and perhaps might cost you your life.
I had, following this last expedition, I had some disorientation spells, if I can say that, disorientation and perhaps some dizziness. The doctor said this is something that I don't think we have to worry about.